Well, good morning. That was a bit hairy. There must be about 200 or 300 small boats. I think I've arrived on Plymouth Sound on a national championship day. No idea what they are. But they're all scarily quite young, so it's national youth. And I'm going to start with a surprise announcement. Arwen is for sale. I'll post all the details down in the links below where you can go and have a look at the pages. She's going to be sold with absolutely everything so that you could go straight away the following day and sail her. All right, so I'll put some links to some posts with extensive photos and lists, and of course all the links to the videos and the blog, so whoever wants to buy her knows exactly what it is they're getting. But thought I'd get that out of the way at the start. Arwen's for sale.
Arwen is a John Welsford designed navigator, 14'6" length across the deck, 20-foot length overall if you include the bowsprit and boomkin. She's got a 5'10" beam. She's a centreboard, beach cruiser and day sailor, standing lug yawl. Built in glued lapstrake marine plywood from Robin's Timber. Almost all the other timbers were sustainably sourced mahogany and Douglas fir, sourced by John Moody of Modbury. I've got to say, as a retired geography teacher, I taught a lot of outdoor education as well, and it's always really wonderful to see young people participating in outdoor pursuits. I can't believe it. One of them's just asked if Arwen needs a push to get her going. A cheeky muppet. Arwen has 3 sails, jib, mizzen and main. They're in good condition, made by Jackals. A cringle on the mainsail will need replacing at some stage in the next 2 or 3 years. The mainsail has half battens instead of full batten to enable simpler furling and stowage of the sails onto the sprit boom. A new owner could get a sailmaker to alter this so that the topmost batten is returned to its proper full-length size should they desire it. All sail raising and control halyards and sheets can be operated from the aft end of the centreboard case. The mainsail and jib halyards can also be tied off on cleats at the base of the main mast. There is a lazy jack system which is controlled from the aft cockpit, and it can be easily detached to allow quick erection of a simple boom tarp tent.
Royal William Yard ferry going out, and 2 or 3 boats here which I'm all hoping will recognise I'm sailing.
With all control lines leading to the aft cockpit, Arwen is really easy to sail single-handed.
We're just making our way out of the cat down, which is proving slightly tricky because the winds are coming sort of southwesterlies, and also the tide's coming in. So, and just to add to all of that, it's a tad busy. So there's lots of big ships and motor vessels coming in as the tide builds. So it's proving slightly tricky getting out, but we're making it slowly. The aim of today, opportunity to take a guided tour of Arwen, but I'll do a quick show around, and also we'll take a look at what's in the package to come with her as well. But for now, as always, here is the beautiful Plymouth Sound. I'd like to say that I'd cleaned Arwen up, but I haven't. I had a decision: spend the day cleaning her or go sailing, and well, that took all of 5 seconds. Go sailing. So she is a bit grubby, all right, but here we go. You've seen all of the images before. I'm not exactly Mr. Tidy. Fighting the tide here. I may actually have to motor out, I think. I'm not getting very far. It's literally wind against me and strong tide now, so I don't seem to be making much headway, which is a bit unfortunate. Let's see if this next tack we can get around and go somewhere.
Arwen's trailer is 3 years old, and I've dunked it no more than 7, 8, 9 times since buying it. Made by Admiral Trailers at Honiton, it's adapted from one of their stock trailers. Her hull rests on raised keel rollers and 2 sets of rollers beneath her flat hull base. This is because, being a wide-bottomed lady, the mudguards were against the hull on the non-adapted trailer. Hence we raised the keel rollers slightly. She comes off her trailer easily, but on some shallow ramps I've very occasionally had to use a rope from the tow ball on the car to the trailer so that it can be more deeply immersed. After every dunking, I make sure I wash the trailer down, and I make sure that the bearings are re-greased via the grease nipple.
Don't want to get too close to the swimmers. There we go. Now with a bit of luck, we should make that all the way into Jenny Cliff Bay now. Ah, that's better. Ooh, stretch my legs. I normally have a halyard bag just here, but in my haste to get on the water, I left it behind. So, a bit of a rat's nest today. Normally it's all in nice little separate pockets. I'm having to watch what I'm doing with my feet.
The jib has a Barton roller furler controlled from the cockpit. The bowsprit is sustainably sourced mahogany treated with Burgess Marine sealer. It's rot-free and removable via bolts underneath the anchor well. You can see here that her top coaming has had the odd dent and ding which needs some repainting.
So we finally have just cleared Mountbatten breakwater. So we're now out into the Sound. And you can just see on the hill there Mountbatten Tower from the English Civil War. And there's a new cafe just opened up underneath it, that building. And then if you go right of that, you can just see the back of the huge old aircraft hangars from, well, where they stored the Sunderland flying boats in the 40s and the 50s. And there we go, Jenny Cliff Bay.
The Navigator is an excellent, well-proven day sail overnight beach camp cruising boat. Some navigators have sailed vast differences across great seas. A YouTube search of the design will give you plenty to see, enjoy and admire about this boat. Arwen is spacious, there's plenty of storage space within the buoyancy tanks. There's an under foredeck locker, 2 under the front thwart and 1 either side of the centre case. There's a stern locker and then there is a smaller locker under each side thwart. All of them are buoyancy chambers. The coaming is sound, but it needs a sanding and revarnishing sometime in the next couple of years. There is plenty of space behind the upright coaming seat backs for fenders. I raised the cockpit coaming by 1 inch and this works well, sluicing any spray down the deck sides. As you can see, I've put leather strips over the rear coaming to protect it from the mainsail block, which was constantly rubbing it, and this seems to have worked well. You can see that there's a really large under foredeck locker. It is slightly tricky to access the lift-off hatch because it's located directly behind the mast. The forward thwart top is sheltered by an extended foredeck above, which is useful for storing things. I've installed a small electric whale gusher urchin pump. It's connected to a small 12-volt battery, and it works very well alongside a panicked skipper with a bucket. Go on, ask me how I know. No, maybe not. In the front cockpit area, I've inserted bungee cords to hold in overnight equipment dry bags against the hull sides. Behind the cockpit coaming under the side deck, you'll also find reboarding loops and also knotted ropes to haul oneself up onto the centreboard in event of a capsize. The cockpit floor was repainted 2 years ago with Interlux grip paint. It is showing some worn patches which need touching up, mainly in the areas where the anchor trays, galley boxes and sleeping platforms are located. There are several big deck eyes throughout her cockpit where jack lines can be secured so that you can attach a safety harness if need be, although I have rarely sailed her in such conditions where I felt the need to clip in, except once when coastal sailing down to Foy in somewhat boisterous conditions. The inside of the centre case is fiberglassed and epoxied, and it was repainted 2 years ago. But since then, Arwen has landed on lots of beaches, and so after next season it would be wise to drop her centreboard and repaint the interior. I last inspected the centreboard pivot pin about 2 years ago. There's never been any leaks from it ever. And her toolkit contains a spare stainless steel centrebolt which will come with her. Sleeping arrangements. It's a simple platform for one. It rests on 3 ply supports. All have been treated with Burgess Marine Sealer, and they rest flat on the aft cockpit floor. It was a very good idea, stolen shamelessly by me from Joel Bergen, a very talented sailor and boat builder and owner of the wonderful navigator Ellie. Her thwart tops are all sound, although in places you can see that they do need some touching up. I repainted them about 3 years ago. The boomkin slots into place and is secured with a bolt through a hole in its forward end. There's a very big stern locker. I waterproofed it because the mizzen mast just sat in a step area, and I've used a piece of drain pipe, thus making the stern locker now watertight. In the cockpit I use mainly Barton blocks or old Tufnell blocks and Barton cleats throughout. The majority are in good condition. 1 does need replacing at some stage, 2 are slightly loose and just need tightening up. 1 jam cleat on the rear of the centre case has rusted and is no longer in use, and I've just left it there. A small one, while still working, really does need replacing at some stage, but it isn't urgent. There is one small area of staining on the centreboard case where a galvanised bolt has rusted. Also in this corner, when going to windward in a brisk chop, water droplets do find their way through a small gap between the casing top and the centreboard upright. In her last capsize test 5 years ago, all the hatches held and none leaked. However, I cannot in all honesty now guarantee that that would be the case. All the lockers and buoyancy chambers are dry and rot-free, and they can be locked with small padlocks. However, the locks that were bought were marketed as stainless steel and evidently turned out not to be. They are functional but badly rusted, and the locker lids are rust stained.
Cheese and Marmite. Nectar to the gods.
Thanks for joining us on this cruise and tour. In part 2, we'll take a look at the hull, the masts and spars and do a bit more sailing. Thanks for joining us.